Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenna Strike, and today I am going to be just gushing over the new live-action Little Mermaid movie because it's what it deserves. This isn't necessarily a review or like a ranking or anything like that. I'm just purely talking about the movie because it makes me so happy. I saw it last Thursday, May 25th, and I have not stopped thinking about it since. I have been non-stop listening to the soundtrack, especially Wild Uncharted Waters. More on that later. The second I heard that The Little Mermaid was going to be turned into a live-action remake, I was excited. I was excited, less so nervous, because I knew in my heart of hearts that they were going to do this movie justice, because The Little Mermaid in and of itself is a very important movie to Disney as a company, as a whole. Like, The Little Mermaid animated movie, single-handedly revived Disney princess storytelling and basically revived the company. You know, they were kind of in like a little bit of a dry spell for a little bit, and then The Little Mermaid came out and it was a huge success, and so I knew that the live-action Little Mermaid was basically going to do the same thing. And for me personally, I feel like the live-action Little Mermaid, this is very much a turning point in live-action Disney remakes. And all of the remakes from now on are going to be held to the standard of The Little Mermaid. So I think it's very important. It's a very big, historical, important moment for Disney as a company again, because when they released the animated Little Mermaid, they were taking a big risk. With this live-action Little Mermaid, I also think it was a big risk. And so, in my mind, it paid off. They did amazingly. And so I'm just going to gush about and talk about my favorite parts of this movie because I can. And if you guys agree with anything that I say, or you have things that I never mentioned in this video, please leave them in the comments below. Have conversations amongst yourselves, and I will probably most likely be commenting back because I want to talk about this movie to everyone. I want to reach out and talk about this movie to everyone. The things I'm going to be talking about are not going to be in like necessarily in order of how the movie goes. It's just kind of like I'm starting with my favorite things and we're going on. And this is going to be difficult because almost everything about this movie is my favorite thing. So that's going to be a little difficult. I'm going to try not to get sidetracked, but that's probably going to happen a lot. And I do apologize. I do apologize in advance for that. Also, I'm filming on a camera, so if the mic and the sound is kind of weird, that's why. The first thing that I want to talk about is my favorite scene in the entire movie. This specific scene branches off to many different reasons as to why it's my favorite scene. So buckle up, this one is probably going to take a lot of explaining to do. This scene is when Ariel is just walking around the castle, exploring, and then she finds herself in Eric's treasure room full of sea memorabilia, I guess, that he has collected over the years. And this direct mirroring and paralleling to Ariel's treasure trove, her grotto, I gasped. I went, in my seat at the movie theaters because I had never seen anything more perfect in my life. The writers on this movie, they probably did not get paid enough. If we're being honest, they probably did not get paid enough because that's genius. And so this treasure room of Eric's further branches off to some, like, the fact that they gave Eric a personality. Now here's the thing, Eric has always been my favorite prince, and in my mind he has always been kind and charismatic. It's not that he, like, I mean, he didn't really have much of a personality, but I knew that he was always kind and charismatic because in the animated movie, 1, he saves Max, risks his life to save his dog. Come on. 2, he lets Ariel stay in the castle even though she's a complete stranger, and he's like, I literally don't know who you are, but you can stay in the castle, that's fine. 3, when Ariel gets to Eric, the curse is broken, Vanessa's curse is broken, Ursula's curse is broken, and they speak like 6 words to each other for the first time. But then Ursula takes Ariel. Eric does not hesitate to get in that water and throw a harpoon at Ursula to save Ariel's life. Are you... Come on. Come on! He's like, what? Okay. So I've always known that he was caring and charismatic, right? But in this movie, in the live action, they made him so much better. They gave him basically the same personality as Ariel. And here's the thing as well. When Ariel and Eric meet for the first time, Ariel hears Eric speaking about what he's passionate about before she even sees him. So she knows more about Eric than Eric knows about Ariel. She knows what kind of person Eric is. Eric doesn't know anything about Ariel. Like, come on! But anyways, so in this treasure room where it's Eric and Ariel and they're just together and Eric is just pouring his heart out and his passions to Ariel and Ariel's listening. But Eric is also listening to Ariel. Like, she wants to know about everything about this. So he's listening and he's telling her about all of this stuff. And he's listening to her. And he's not like, you know, it's actually so perfect. There's never been a more perfect scene ever. That whole time that they're in Eric's little treasure room is my favorite scenes in the movie. And of course, when Ariel takes that little green glass mermaid, and Eric looks at her and he goes, "My little mermaid." What? Literally what? Those writers, they deserve everything in the world. Because what the fuck? That's just the most perfect thing to say. Anyways, I could go on and on and on about how perfect that scene is and how, like, that automatic, they give us an automatic connection between Ariel and Eric. That's the thing in this movie as well about Ariel and Eric. When Ariel hears Eric speaking on the ship for the first time, it's an instant connection because he's basically saying, what he's saying to Grimsby is what Ariel says to her father. Like, no one understands them, but they understand each other immediately. It's an immediate connection, and it's just so heartwarming. And it's my favorite thing in the world. And I could go on about it forever. So there's that. And we're going to keep going with Eric, because his song in this movie... Oh my god. You're joking. You're actually joking, you're stupid. The lyric, "And if it takes my life, I will finally find you again." Oh! No man has ever been that perfect, I don't think. Honestly, like I said, I think I said this in my, like, out of theater reaction. It's such a good time to be an Eric girly, a Prince Eric girly, because he's always been my favorite. I've always seen this potential in him, and they gave it to him. And they said, "You're gonna be the best prince. You are. Because that's who you are." And it's so good. It's so good. Eric as a whole surprised me because with Hallie, as soon as Hallie was casted, I said, so yeah, this movie is definitely going to go places because they're not playing around. They just casted Halle Bailey as Ariel. I'd heard her sing before, and I was like, okay, well, this says it all. This movie's gonna be perfect. But the person I was most nervous about was Eric, because like I said, I love Prince Eric. He's my favorite prince. And I was very nervous. I was like, I'd never seen anything that Jonah Howard King had ever been in, and so I was like, I don't know what's gonna go down. But after seeing this movie, I'm like, I could not picture a single other person playing that role. Same with Ariel. Like, nobody but Hallie and Jonah could play Ariel and Eric. And when it was like rumored that Harry Styles was going to be playing Eric, I was like, I don't know. I could see it, but I wasn't on board. Hallie and Jonah are just the perfect pairing, and the chemistry they have together on screen. Oh my god! The way that they look at each other as Eric and Ariel is just like, it's like no other. No one will ever beat Eric and Ariel, and I'm never going to be over them. I haven't been over them since I was 4 years old, and I'm 23 now, just turned 23 last week, and I'm in love again with this movie and this tale and everything. And so Eric and Ariel as a whole are just perfect, and the way that they gave them personality and that they're the same. They gave them an instant connection of this longing and yearning for someone to understand them, and they just did it so well. And I could talk about them for hours, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing right now. One thing that they did so well in this movie as well is the iconic moments where it's like, the second you think of The Little Mermaid, these sort of scenes are probably the ones you think about. So for me personally, the scenes that I think about in The Little Mermaid are the scene with the fireworks and the ship and the song. Justice was done. I think about when Ariel is on the rock and she pushes up and she's singing Part of Your World, and the hair flip out of the water when she finally becomes human. And I think about Kiss the Girl and the scene when Ursula becomes huge and she's taking up like the entire sea. Every single one of those scenes was done justice. Every single one of them was done perfectly. They didn't mess around with it because they knew that those scenes were already perfect, and they were like, well, they have to be in the movie. That's what makes The Little Mermaid The Little Mermaid. But everything else they changed was done so well. Like, I loved all the changes, and I loved, like, everything that they excluded, I didn't feel like I was missing, you know? Like, some of the things that they excluded, Le Poisson, the song with the, like, French chef man, even in the animated movie, I always was like, I feel like this is so unnecessary. Like, it didn't add anything to the story that is Ariel and Eric. That's the thing about this live action movie, is that they honed in on Ariel and Eric, it being about them and their love, not just like sea and land. So now I'm gonna talk about the market scene and the lagoon scene, and after the lagoon Kiss the Girl scene. So like the market scene after the crazy insane carriage ride was perfect. The carriage ride already was perfect. Like, come on, that was so good. And the market scene when they're dancing around is just so cute. And we have Jodie Benson make her cameo, and it just made my heart so happy when she handed Ariel the dingle hopper, right? It's just so cute. When Eric and Ariel are dancing in the market scene, it reminded me of Tangled a lot, when it's Rapunzel and Flynn and they're dancing and they get separated, but they're dancing and they like come together. Oh my god, like that scene was perfect. When they get back on the carriage to ride back to the castle, and Scuttle comes and takes Eric's hat, and they're running through this like foliage, and they look like they're having so much fun. They're like little kids running after, trying to get something back. And when Eric finally gets the hat back, and he's like, I couldn't leave without this, like there's no way. Like, he already attached sentimental value to the hat because he had such a good day, and because Ariel picked it for him. You better shut up! Oh my god. Just the Kiss the Girl scene is perfect in general. The song changed a little bit, but I honestly loved how they changed it. I loved Jacob Tremblay's voice in it. I don't know why. It's just so cute and like precious, and oh my god, beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, the changing of Eric saying like Ariel's name and then saying it's kind of pretty, and he says that's a beautiful name. like, all of these changes are genuinely for the better. Like, come on. And when Eric is trying to figure out Ariel's name, and she points at the sky because he just told her about, like, the constellation Aries, and with the Ariel. Don't look at me. Because, oh God, you're kidding. And so after all of that, after all of the kiss the girl stuff, there's even more cuteness when they're sneaking back into the castle, and then they're hiding from Grimsby and Eric's mom, and they're just, like, giggling, and they're giddy, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe we just did that. Like, that's literally, like, oh my God, that's so fun. And Eric turns to Ariel, and he's like, I wasn't born into all of this, and it's all still so crazy that I'm here. Like, I'm gonna blush. I did blush. I was blushing the entire movie. And I could not believe how perfect they got the characters that are Ariel and Eric. They elevated them and made them perfect. Made them that Disney couple. And it makes me so happy because I've always loved them as a Disney couple. Just in general, the way that Eric and Ariel look at each other. I need to be shot in the foot. Like, and again, like I said, how they basically flip-flop Ariel and Eric of, like, Ariel knows everything about Eric, but Eric knows absolutely nothing about Ariel. And it's so sweet. Because again, in the animated movie, we don't see Eric's personality that much, so Ariel doesn't really know anything about Eric either. But Ariel is able to fall in love with this man that is passionate and that she knows in her heart that she is just like him. So that's why they can connect. And that's why their connection is so... I could talk about them forever. But steering away from Eric and Ariel, I want to talk about some other really good scenes in the movie. Again, Poor Unfortunate Souls as a whole is just... It was so good. Like, the production of it and everything like that. And again, the excluding of those lyrics that were like, you have a pretty face, you got your looks, you got your body language. Like, men don't like when women talk. They took that out so that girls know, and just like people in general know, that if you want to talk, you can talk. Like, you don't need to silence yourself for someone. One thing that I really want to praise as well is the, like, CGI and the special effects. I've seen, like, a few people say that, like, the CGI and the effects are not good. Honestly, I think that they're perfect. Considering that most of the movie was filmed in a big blue-green studio, and Hallie was by herself for the majority of being under the sea. I feel like this movie goes to show that, like, you don't need to torture your actors into being in water tanks and having to hold their breath for, like, 8+ minutes. Because that movie was flawless. And the CGI was flawless. Like, the way that the tail moved, the way that the hair moved. I can't get over how King Triton's hair looked flawless every time he was on screen. I loved King Triton's hair. He looked so good. Just Javier in general as King Triton was a really good standout performance as well. But yeah, like, everything, it makes sense as to why it took 2 years to edit this movie. Because the film wrapped in July of 2021. That's insane! And so it took that long. But it was worth it because it looks flawless. Everything about it was just so good. Like, I literally was like, oh my god, they're literally underwater. And to think about when when I watch the behind the scenes footage of when they're in the, like, blue screen areas, the actors have, like, things, like, nets over their hair with the dots on them, and they're in those, like, dotted suits for CGI and stuff. The fact that they can go from that to this? What do you mean it's bad? That's probably some of the best CGI work I've ever seen. Like, let's be real. Come on, let's be honest. And some other standout performances were definitely the girl that played Vanessa. She slayed her, like, 3 minutes of screen time. She spoke, I think, her own voice twice or 3 times. Her lip-syncing skills? Okay. She was insane. I was so enthralled by literally her, like, 3 minutes of screen time. I was like, damn. Okay. Again, Jacob Tremblay as Flounder was perfection. He sounded just like Flounder in the animated one. Like, you're kidding me. That's the same person. No, that's literally the same person. Even Daveed Diggs as Sebastian, like, the more I sit and think about it, the more I'm like, you know what, no, I do like it. Because at first when I watched the movie, I was kind of like, his accent sounds very robotic. But the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, you know what, no, that's iconic. And I don't mind the live action, like, animation, how they made them look like real animals. I really don't hate it. I think they're cute. And that's all I have to say about them. The new song, The First Time, is also just so beautiful. Like, it's so good! Oh my god, literally anything about Halle. Now it's time to praise Halle Bailey. Because, like I said earlier, there's no way that I could ever picture anybody playing Ariel other than Halle Bailey. Because she just exudes this sweetness, kindness, compassion, and her voice is, like, genuinely the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. And all of the changes in Part of Your World are so good, and I'm going to be singing it that way for the rest of my life. Like, there's no way that I can go back. There's absolutely no way that I can go back to the original. I'm so sorry, but the live-action Little Mermaid is honestly better than the animated one. And that's me saying that as someone who has The Little Mermaid as their favorite Disney movie. One of their favorite Disney movies, like top 5. Take me away. Put me in jail if that makes me a bad person. If that makes me wrong, take me away. I think that the live action, it breathed so much life into the story that is The Little Mermaid, because they grounded the characters in the story this time. Because like I said, in the animated version, they were focusing on the story and the world building and the music. So the characters fell kind of flat. They fell a little 2D, if you will. So in this live action remake, they gave these characters soul and heart. And they instantly latched on to my heart. Every single character. And this is the 3rd movie in the theaters where I contemplated buying a ticket for the next showing on the same day. I was like, well, I need to see this again. I didn't. Instead, I drove across the road to the Toys R Us to buy the Little Mermaid Funko Pops. This live action movie was a genuine remake. It was not a retelling, it was a remaking. And it was a remake for the better because it just made everything that much more perfect. And I loved it so much. And 5 stars, a million stars. There aren't enough stars in the galaxy that I can give to this movie because I think that it was just genuinely perfect. And I think it's the best summertime movie to watch. They have the steel drums. It's mermaids, it's sand, it's beach. They filmed it in Italy. Like, come on. Come on. I think that everyone who's watching this needs to get onto whatever website their movie theater is and buy a ticket to go see this movie. And if you've already seen the movie, go buy another ticket, because that's what I'm doing this weekend. I'm gonna go see it again this weekend because I genuinely can't live without seeing Ariel and Eric just constantly, right? So go see this movie in theaters. It's a perfect movie theater movie, and I think that that's about all that I have to say, all that I have to gush about this movie. I'm probably gonna go listen to Wild Uncharted Waters for the rest of the day. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, whatever time you're watching this at, whatever day you're watching this, and go watch the live action Little Mermaid, because I think it might change your life. Bye.